The rockets that took us to the moon were born from weapons of war, a surprising truth. The V-2 rocket, created for Germany in World War II, became the foundation for both American and Soviet space programs. The space race began not just with dreams, but with the complex legacy of conflict. Each launch was a show of power, a message sent across the globe. Wernher von Braun, once a leader in Nazi rocketry, became a key architect of America's Apollo program. This transfer of knowledge, forged in war, fueled the technological fire of the space race. The journey to the moon was powered by curiosity, but also by fear, ambition, and rivalry. Our greatest achievements in space are rooted in the realities of life on Earth. After World War II, the world found itself split into two powerful and opposing camps, each determined to shape the future according to its own vision. The devastation of the war had left nations searching for security and stability. But instead, a new kind of conflict emerged, one not fought on battlefields, but in the shadows of diplomacy, technology, and ideology. On one side stood the United States and its allies, united under the banner of democracy and capitalism. On the other, the Soviet Union led a bloc of nations committed to communism and state control. These alliances, known as NATO and the Warsaw Pact, drew clear lines across continents, dividing not just countries but families and futures. This era, called the Cold War, was a global contest of influence and ideology. Propaganda, espionage, and political maneuvering became the weapons of choice, as each side sought to win allies and sway public opinion around the world. Science and technology quickly emerged as new battlegrounds. Laboratories buzzed with activity as scientists raced to develop breakthroughs that could tip the balance of power. From nuclear arms to computers, every discovery was seen as a potential advantage. Each nation raced to prove its system superior, not just with weapons, but by conquering the skies. Jet aircraft soared higher and faster, and rockets, once designed for war, became symbols of national pride and technological prowess. The space race was born from this intense rivalry. The launch of the first artificial satellite, Sputnik, shocked the world and ignited a fierce competition to reach new heights beyond Earth. Rockets, first built for war, were now aimed at the stars. The same technology that once threatened destruction was repurposed for exploration, turning the heavens into the next great arena of competition. The leaders of both nations understood that winning in space meant more than just technological achievement. It was about capturing the imagination and loyalty of people everywhere. Every launch, every speech, was broadcast to millions, fueling national pride and international tension. The space race was about more than exploration. It was a contest of political will and technological might. Satellites and astronauts became symbols of hope, fear, and the promise of a new era. Every success was a victory for one ideology, every failure a setback. The world watched as headlines chronicled triumphs and disasters, and mission control rooms became the nerve centers of national ambition. This relentless pressure drove rapid innovation. Engineers and scientists worked around the clock, pushing the boundaries of what was possible, often at great personal risk. In just over a decade, humanity would leap from launching a metal sphere into orbit to walking on another world. The impossible became reality, as dreams of space travel turned into historic achievements. The race was on, and the stakes were global. Every nation, large or small, felt the impact of this struggle, as the world's attention turned skyward. The world watched in awe and anxiety as the next frontier became a stage for superpower rivalry, forever changing the course of history and humanity's place in the universe. In the chill of October 1957, the world witnessed a moment that would forever change the course of history. The Soviet Union, in a stunning display of technological prowess, scored the first victory in the space race with the launch of Sputnik 1. This was not just a scientific achievement, it was a bold statement to the world, a declaration that humanity was ready to reach beyond the confines of Earth. This small, polished metal sphere, emitting its now famous beeping signal, shocked the world. Its simple radio pulses echoed across continents, picked up by amateur radio operators and professional scientists alike. For the first time in human history, a man-made object was circling the globe, its signal a constant, inescapable reminder of Soviet achievement. The beeps were more than just sounds, they were proof that the impossible had become reality. In the United States, the news hit like a thunderbolt. Americans, once confident in their technological lead, suddenly faced what became known as the Sputnik crisis, a wake-up call that spurred both anxiety and determination. The U.S. government responded swiftly, pouring unprecedented resources into science and engineering education, and founding NASA in 1958. The race to space was no longer a distant dream, it was an urgent, national priority. The beeps from Sputnik, heard on radios around the globe, ignited a fierce determination to catch up. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock, fueled by a new sense of purpose and competition. Sputnik proved that space was within reach for humankind. The boundaries of possibility had shifted overnight and the world was watching. That single launch opened the door to a new era, one of satellites, global communication, GPS navigation, and the interconnected modern world we know today. The space age had begun, and nothing would ever be the same. Families gathered around their televisions, gazing up at the night sky, knowing that humanity had taken its first step into the cosmos. The simple beeping of Sputnik was more than a signal. It was a challenge, a call to action for nations and dreamers everywhere. The world listened, and the race accelerated. Every nation felt the pressure to innovate, to explore, to reach further than ever before. The Soviets had launched not just a satellite, but a new era, one filled with hope, rivalry, and the promise of discovery. The competition for the cosmos was underway, and the world would never look back. In the tense years of the Cold War, the Soviets pressed their advantage in the race for the stars, determined to outpace their American rivals. Their ambitions were bold, and their methods often shrouded in secrecy. But one thing was clear. They were about to make history by sending living beings into the unknown realm of space. In November 1957, a small dog named Laika became the first animal to orbit Earth, riding aboard the Soviet spacecraft Sputnik 2. Chosen for her calm demeanor and resilience, Laika was thrust into the global spotlight, her journey captivating people around the world. Laika's mission was both groundbreaking and poignant. She proved that life could survive the violence of launch and the strange sensation of weightlessness, even if only for a short time. Her sacrifice paved the way for human spaceflight, showing that the dream of sending people beyond Earth was within reach. With this success, the Soviets set their sights even higher. The next goal was clear: send a person into orbit and, just as importantly, bring them home safely. Engineers and cosmonauts trained relentlessly, pushing the limits of technology and human endurance. On April 12, 1961, the world watched in awe as Yuri Gagarin, a young pilot with a ready smile, became the first human in space. He soared above the planet in Vostok 1, circling the globe at unimaginable speeds. Gagarin's flight lasted just 108 minutes, but in that short time, he became a symbol of hope and possibility. Crowds cheered his return, and his name was celebrated in headlines across continents. Overnight, he was transformed into a global hero. As he gazed out the window of his capsule, Gagarin famously declared, "The Earth is blue." His words captured the wonder and fragility of our planet, seen for the first time from the vastness of space. The Soviet Union had achieved another historic first, leaving the United States scrambling to catch up. The space race was no longer just a competition, it was a matter of national pride and global prestige. For the first time in history, humanity had left its home planet, venturing into the vast unknown. The boundaries of what was possible had shifted forever. The dream of space travel, once confined to science fiction and imagination, was now a breathtaking reality. The universe beckoned, and the world was watching. The race was heating up, and the next destination was already clear: the moon. Both superpowers set their sights on this distant world, determined to be the first to plant their flag on its surface. Across the globe, people gathered around radios and televisions, following every development. The boundaries of possibility were shifting before their eyes, and the world was united in awe and anticipation. The journey into the unknown had truly begun. Each mission brought new risks, new discoveries, and new dreams for the future. The stakes, and the ambitions, were higher than ever. The first voyagers had opened the door to the cosmos, and humanity was ready to step through. The US was behind, but not out. NASA's Project Mercury aimed to put Americans in space. In May 1961, Alan Shepard became the first American in space, making a brief suborbital flight. Though shorter than Gagarin's, Shepard's mission proved the US could compete. The nation celebrated and confidence grew. The next challenge: orbit the Earth. In February 1962, John Glenn became the first American to orbit the planet, circling it 3 times. Glenn's successful mission put the U.S. back in the race. President Kennedy had already set a new, audacious goal: reach the moon. The early setbacks were being overcome. NASA's momentum was building. The rivalry was now focused on a single, distant target. The moon was no longer just a dream, it was the next objective. The countdown to a new era had begun. President Kennedy challenged America to land a man on the moon before the decade's end. At the time, the U.S. had only minutes of spaceflight experience. The technology didn't exist, the risks were enormous. The Apollo program was born, demanding innovation and the work of hundreds of thousands. NASA built the mighty Saturn V rocket and designed new spacecraft for the journey. Tragedy struck with the Apollo 1 fire, but the program pressed on, learning from loss. The mission was more than technical, it was a test of national resolve. The race to the moon became a symbol of hope, ambition, and sacrifice. Every step forward was hard-won. The world watched as the promise took shape. The greatest adventure in human history was underway. July 1969, Apollo 11 prepared for the first moon landing. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins launched atop the Saturn V. Millions watched as they journeyed to the moon. Armstrong and Aldrin descended in the lunar module, the Eagle, while Collins orbited above. With seconds of fuel left, Armstrong found a safe landing spot. "Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed." Armstrong stepped onto the moon. That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. The world united in awe as humans walked on another world. The U.S. had fulfilled Kennedy's promise and won the race. The footprints on the moon belonged to all humanity. The moon landing ended the space race, but began a new era. The focus shifted to science and international cooperation. The space race sparked inventions: satellite communications, GPS, memory foam, and more. It changed how we see our planet. Photos like Earthrise inspired a new environmental awareness. The view from space showed Earth as a fragile, shared home. Former rivals became partners. In 1975, the Apollo-Soyuz mission saw Americans and Soviets shake hands in orbit. This spirit of cooperation led to the International Space Station. The legacy of the space race is global collaboration and technological progress. The competition of the past paved the way for unity and exploration. Our journey beyond Earth continues together. The space race was a chapter of rivalry, risk, and discovery. It gave us new technologies and a new perspective on our world. Today, space exploration is about collaboration, nations and private companies working side by side. The dream of discovery lives on, building on the foundation of the pioneers. The universe is vast, and our journey has just begun. The story of the space race reminds us, when we are bold and work together, anything is possible. The cosmos awaits. Subscribe for more stories of science and exploration. There's always more to learn.